Hey everyone, Roxas here, and this was a year coming for this part 2, as the video I had just uploaded not that long ago, I recorded back last year and I want to do a part 2 of my discussion. But now I'm taking care of like 3 video ideas I'm working on, and I want to at least get most of them out of the way, at least by the end of this week. And with this be the last day of Pride Month, I think it's time we talk about how LGBT has been represented now, and how has it changed and how it's improved. Now, let me put some full disclosure. I have nothing really against the LGBT community. I would love representation. But it doesn't mean we should not talk about the fact of not only how people are entitled to representation, but how almost, if anything, can be attacked for being any type of anti-gay or trans ideology. The fact that people will lose their mind just because you don't accept them being non-binary is showing the idea of what we see now. So let's talk about what makes it not as good as we all want it to be. And for the next couple of videos, I'm using some of my Scarlet Nexus content. So you're gonna just be seeing this gameplay for a little while. I'm in the midst of this game, so I might as well use it. I have a lot of videos I saved, and right now I either have to get I have to see what's up with my capture card or OBS to find out why I have no audio. But enough about my issues with recording. Let's talk about representation now. Now, let's look at this in both ways. Do we see a lot more positive representation? I say sometimes yes and no. Now, I know you're thinking, you're going to say the most obvious thing, aren't you? No, I'm not going to bring up that game, because I think at that point, that game has been dragged to the dirt too many times to bring up. And I would love to bring up the Life is Strange series. That's also repetitive to talk about. So let's talk about something that is a little bit more known, but we'll talk about two things that are more known. Now, I mentioned this last video about RWBY, and RWBY, despite all the controversies people have with it, treats its LGBT characters very well, and both practically well written, considering that when it comes to LGBT in Western media, it's always a hit or miss. They do a good job. John's sister and her wife, they're good. They're very, they're very wholesome. You like their interactions with the group, and they have the personalities mesh together that you forget that they're a lesbian couple. Ilya may have been evil for a bit, but she was able to reform at the end of Volume 5. So she's not the, evil and gay stereotype, because she at least reformed at the end, because her whole deal was being in the same kind of vein of, like, people who lost their way, like Adam. But unlike Adam, Ilya was able to get her way back. And now, more recently, before I wrote that video for, last year, we have, Mary. It was interesting to know that Mary was trans, and they had it pretty well of what they had been. You're not focused on actually trans, but you have an idea what her words meant. Of she was no longer the Ringo's son, in a way. And then you have, I guess you can now. Do I believe some kind of idea that Penny is a lesbian icon? It's gay. I don't know. Let's not dab into that mess. Someone is kind of is because, like I said, let's go to the community of LGBT. That if you call them out or how they act, you're called homophobic, you're called transphobic, and you see that a lot with the Ruby community. That as much as they really are very, you know, they like it, but at the same time they're more toxic about it. And you think, why is this a problem? I think it's the idea that at the same time people don't want like all the characters to be gay, and okay, that's fine. But this is why people start attacking people because they think you're homophobic. I said one thing a couple of months ago about I compared the Persona community to Ruby when it comes to how they act to LGBT, and then I get called transphobic. I get called homophobic. And that was the silliest thing that happened because it's kind of showing that the community is becoming more toxic, and it's an issue. Kind of same thing how the Persona community cares more about. They complain about, they think that Kanji is gay and Naruto is trans, and then they reacted to the two two stereotypical guys, not understanding that Atlas don't bend the knee to LGBT as the Western is. It's not the focus of their games. And the fact that, yes, this scene got, censored, and we don't really know the full details, that and possibly that recent era has some kind of strange control over the gaming sphere. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it seems like they have some kind of control. And it makes you think of representation bad. Now, all the examples I brought up bad. In a sense, yes, but understand that Japan and LGBT is different. Like, the LGBT, with them and LGBT, they have their boys love, their girls love, and they probably have a few characters that are trans. Or someone who's non-binary. But they don't, their focus is not the character's sexuality. And even when they have some very good boys love or girls love stories, the story is about the characters, understanding their feelings and and them growing up, not about them the challenges of their sexuality kind of thing. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. A good example is check Funimation's gonna have this boys love anime movie coming out. And the one reason I want to check it out is that I feel like it has some potential with the story, and I don't watch a lot of story with boys love characters, and it's as much as I have changed so much. I really do want to give it a chance, Now, like I said, I want to watch boys love, but I'm not here to watch two guys bang. I want to see the relationship and development of the character, not them sticking, not them docking each other, which is not what I think. I think when I think of yaoi and boys love, and that's kind of what you see with a lot of mindset people have, because they only think of a character for the sexuality and not their character. Which is ironic because of how much, companies companies change their icon for Pride Month. It's a virtual signaling. I don't know. I think it's just a company thing. You want to show your support, and that's all. But I think some people do go a bit too far, and their focus is just LGBT for the sake of LGBT. Like, why one of the first things that Kingdom Hearts 3 gets as a mod is a pride flag? That is virtual signaling. At least when I showed it to my friend, I do agree with him that you have all these. You can make so many cool things, and you make this. I mean, this is the same community that decides to completely mod Kyrie's lines from Out of Sword Hayden Panettiere. Despite Hayden Panettiere has not really done like action stuff in like games like Kingdom Hearts. All because they're still matches and come back as Kyrie. But then you find out that a lot of stuff going on with Hayden. Yeah, I kind of maybe she's good she didn't come back because I think that's too much for play, too much to be in limelight. But let's get back to LGBT. I say that representation is always a mixed bag, and I don't mean this as a fencing meaning. I mean, you don't know. You're always in a stalemate on if your representation is good or not. And I say this is that because we had things like Shira, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, and a lot of cartoons that the main focus point of the show is this character gay. It's kind of why most people dislike LGBT nowadays. And Legend of Korra, which I think I may have said already. But I guess that kind of comes with the job because it makes it really hard to, because you don't want to just write straight relationships. Now I'm gonna take a moment and show you, explain why, like the mindset of the whole it's all about straight love. Now, I've been following a lot of the Science Shoe stuff, of Christian Science Shoe, and Chris is a great example of, I don't want that mindset that everyone has to be straight. Anyone can love whoever they want, but I think people make a big deal about LGBT and everything because they don't want it in their face. They don't want these agendas thrown at them. But that's the point, that you can't just ignore it. Like, you make a big deal about a character's sexuality or who they are, but never the character. That's why I'm basically skirting the line. I'm not saying the game, but I think people focus way too much on the character's sexuality of their character, or they're mad because that character killed their favorite character. That's what they care about, mostly. That and just the hate they have for that game. Now we're going to a year, and by the time we go into 2022, it's still going to be a dead horse. To never end. So, we have to ask ourselves one question when it comes to things like Legend of Korra on that. Is the story bad because it has lesbians or gay characters? We have to ask ourselves this. What is worse? The companies that make characters gay, or the fans who make a big deal about it? We'll have to look at both. I say this. I don't believe that any writer is out there trying to make a point just because of having a gay character or a lesbian or trans character or non-binary character. But we also have to look at the fans because they focus their mind on these characters' sexuality so much so that it's kind of the only thing they think about. It's kind of why you notice a lot of fans who focus because of shipping is the idea of a character being gay. Now, I write Yuri, but when I write Yuri, I try to at least keep the characters consistently. They're not have changed. They're not like they completely personalities completely 180 just because they're gay. You see that with a lot of stories that are written are fans who have a lot of like this hate. I mentioned before, you see that in a lot of like yaoi written by girls, and you can always feel the animosity hate they have for the female characters. We don't know why, but well, we don't know why. So you have to think to yourself that they're really just, you know, taking out the fact that this girl exists and ruins their fantasy. That's something you know. That's something you notice a lot of Sora and Riku shippers, that they really hate Kairi, or Axel and Roxas, and they really hate Naminé or Shion. Like these, like some people are crazy, and that's something that is why people don't like because you see that kind of crazy fans. Same thing for Blackpink Persona, because the series has never came out and like celebrated or made a big deal of a gay character, because when it comes to because Japan is very, they're very like traditional and more like secluded when it comes to like to like LGBT characters, whereas the West celebrates it like it's a big moment of story. But that's why you don't really see them bring up or have to mention that the characters are gay or lesbian, because that's not the main focus. The focus of the character. Yes, you do see a lot of promotion. You see a lot of like promotion make the emphasize the two characters are a couple, but that's the whole thing of production material that kind of emphasize these two characters. Like, I would say for most people, they wait for, like, for example, for those who remember Citrus, if you only look at it from the base value, you think of this as, oh, Mei sexual harasses Yuzu, or they focus, oh, they're sisters, or they're sisters. But then you actually watch the show completely, you understand both Yuzu and Mei's characters. Like, Mei's has a lot of issues, underlying. And then because Yuzu, this is the first. Mei was her first person she actually cared, she loved, like she just had feelings for, and seeing them going through some of the trials they go through for the first season and the second season, and for the rest of the manga, seeing their relationship grow more and more. That they are accepted by their family, they are accepted for the relationship, and they do get married at the end of the series. And Citrus Plus takes place in between where the manga originally ended to the end story. We see more of the relationship. So again, if you focus on just the production, like the production material, you believe what you see. But then when you watch the overall product, it's different. Here's a more wholesome example. Bloom to You was another great anime, which I gotta finish up soon. And what I like about it is that it's not only a very, my story. Another thing is Kase-san, because these are two very wholesome stories, and you see like the development of characters, and that's something I think we don't see. It's like, I think because we're more used to the drama side of like LGBT, but we don't see the wholesome or like development side. I think Japan has that more tight knit about it, because we aren't celebrating it like a big deal, and I think that is why you don't. That's kind of why Japan don't focus on that. Like, the one here are some examples of like relationships they really do focus on, like material, like Haruka Mitsu from Sailor Moon, or Toya and Yuito from Kaka Sakura, a lot of source material really like source material, a lot of material emphasizes these two as like a couple. Yuto and Toya are never a couple in Toya and Yuto are a couple in Kaka Sakura, but you always kind of see that closeness. They do care for each other, even though and like I said, you probably would never know this whole thing if you only went by the Nirvana dub that kind of removed any hints at it. Heck, Sharon had a crush on Yukito, and that's something he had a crush on the early episodes of the show, but you would never know that because you only watched the original show. Now, I think another good example of what I mean by representation being either a mix is how how companies do focus on these characters. Now, should we say that should actually be lessened, so not everyone feel the whole shove not faces? That's a debatable thing. I'd say that when it comes to Pride Month, we're always going to see a lot of talk of very well-known relationships because June was the month that the bill was passed. So of course, that is going to be where everyone's going to talk about. They're going to talk about Pride Month that way. So I don't think it's a problem, but I don't think it's an issue. That is, let's celebrate these relationships, So, I guess the best way to sum it up and explain it better is, I don't think it's as I think that I don't think that it's bad. It's not a problem these characters are in a relationship. I think it's how it's handled. Now, I don't think that the idea that, the story is bad because this character is gay, or they ruined it because the character is gay. But at the same time, I think that a lot of people focus too much on the character sexuality. We go back to the whole how much the Western community is very up in arms or offensive to anything that could be transphobic or homophobic or stereotypical, and expect this is just going to just change. It's like on a blue like that. Like, if people are offended by the hot springs tropes in the Persona series, why should we expect them to change how you think what is homophobic or transphobic? Year 2021, I think people are still mad about the Ryuchi stuff. And that's kind of the thing, because you have to now think to yourself, is the story good because these characters are gay? Is the story bad because they are? But I think the best thing we can do is not to focus on the character's sexuality. You can still focus on them exploring themselves and the relationships, but it doesn't have to be like the big focal point of your story. It depends on how it's done. Like, unless you're telling a story about coming out and exploring the character's relationship, that's fine. But when you have stories that are supposed to be, a big focus about stuff, it shouldn't be focused on the character's sexuality. Which I guess is kind of why a lot of people complain about Ruby, because people think that people's focus is Ryuji, not Ryuji, his focus of Ruby is Blake and Yang's relationship, but not knowing that a lot of Blake's whole development as a character is about her like with Blake, she was pretty part of a very abusive relationship, and Yang was her first like real like friend and became one of her closest friends. She started to slowly open up to, and her team. And when Adam came back in her life and her Yang, it was devastating for her that she of course ran away. And Blake's semblance is all about running away. But Blake was able to finally take the action, take the fight back, take back the White Fang, and fight Adam again. And we see that development from both characters. Yang and Blake have are a good couple, but I think a lot of people act like every moment's about them. So now we come to the thing that I think people focus too much the characters gay or LGBT, and that's the problem. As much as I'm rambling on this, we have to ask ourselves this one big question. Are we just going to are we just going to treat LGBT bad because the community's bad? Are we going to treat any type of relationships bad because it's bad? Well, I put it this way, if that was the case, then my friends would probably be hating Haruka Michiru, or any official good relationship, but they don't. People still love that relationship. People still love these shippings people have of kind of almost canon but not canon. Like relationship between characters, two girls. Like Love Live is very, very shoujo-ai on Yuri. The Neptunia series, like a lot of these series that have like these very strong like pairing the two girls together are still popular. And that doesn't mean that the community is toxic or is completely toxic about it. I mean, yeah, although when it comes to the Tuna community, they treat us like they treat any. Though right now they like to debate the phrase queer baiting, and they kind of want and they use that term a lot. And because of the buzzword, anytime they see two girls together, they think they're queer baiting you. That's the thing. If you're focused on their character's sexuality, then that's the problem. But you're focusing on their sexuality, not their character. And I guess one big last thing we should talk about is, can we improve it? I say yes, we can. I don't think that LGBT is bad. And I don't think that we should just remove it just because people don't want it shoved down their throats. I think that we get more wholesome like examples of characters. I think that would help people get used to it more. I feel we need more Bloom to You, or we need more Bloom to You kind of show. We need more of that boys love anime that's coming out. We need these stories that really do a good job of giving us these characters and make you relate to them without focusing on their sexuality. I think that companies should still promote these characters. Now, keep in mind, that's more the Western side. I think that it's more a business standpoint. They want to focus on this thing. That's kind of why you see the biggest focus people is what are you going to make people buy your product? Is it by genre, or what's shown? That is why you have there's a lot of popular boys love and girls love manga and anime and light novels. But I feel like we haven't seen like a big surge of them. I think more girls love anime are coming out more than boys love. In the more coming years. I feel like that's the most notable thing. There are a few exceptions, but not enough. And I think that should be improved. I think we need to see more good examples. I think as much the West people want to make a big deal about video games, I think we need to start seeing more like wholesome developed characters who are in a relationship. But not focus on hating a game because the characters are gay. And I think that's why a lot of people want to hate on Life is Strange, because the focus were the main characters were gay in the first installments. because people focus on that. And that's because, that game was popular, so, the whole saying, hate something that's popular. And I think that's our next step. Again, more wholesome choices. Promotions should still have to be much better, and have a better idea of where we want to go. Now, I think that also discussion should be handled better. Don't focus on your character's sexuality, and don't just try to ignore canon things about the character just to push your own ideology on their character's sexuality. If you're gonna focus, unless it's outright said they're gay, don't just assume things. That's why it's annoying. It's annoying when the Kingdom Hearts community thinks that Sora is gay, and then focus about it. It's the same thing for how a lot of people make the idea that Square Enix has never outright said that Faye and Vinny were gay, but the fans have kind of made out to be. Same thing for how popular it was to make Lightning and Fang a couple. And I guess that's really it. I think this video was a long time coming, and I felt like I didn't have too much to talk about because I didn't want to. The one thing I want to do with discussions is I want to handle these without coming off angry, and I want to look into the mindset of other people. I just feel like I focused on the mindset of others yet, but I do feel that we need to improve that. We need to also think to ourselves to not let the whole thing of a character's sexuality get to us. I feel like at the end of the day, we all are rooted to our homophobia or transphobia. And people like Chris, who wants to be accepted, he's still homophobic, he's still transphobic. He only wants to be treated as a trans lesbian because he wants to be. It's the same way how he wants to be treated for being high functioning autism. He treats it as something that he wants to get special treatment and not anything else. And that's something we should also do, is that let's not try to overly treat a character different because of sexuality. That's not how it works, and we shouldn't do that. I think the best way to sum it up, I think the best way to end this video properly is this. I will always support the LGBT community, but I support it in a way that I support the positive sides. I like the celebrations of characters. I like sharing a Yuri-bot account because I like sharing it. I want to give more boys love anime a chance, but I want to find more wholesome ones and not the characters, docking each other. I mean, yeah, we all dabble ourselves in M-rated relationships, but I'm an adult and I should be allowed to read these kind of things. So, what I think we need to do, and what I think so, is to improve that we need to start enjoying things. Let's not look at the community as toxic because of few people online. And I think what I mean that is we need to sit and talk with these kind of people. Let's not focus people on social media. This is why I'm taking a sociology cast. Because I feel like we're putting too much thought onto what people are like online and not who they are publicly. So I always say, talk with people who talk about LGBT. Get to know them. Don't just write don't write people off because you think they're toxic. Speak with them. Get to know them. They'll teach you something. Don't try to treat them as some kind of spiteful people. That's something I want to really emphasize. I want people to understand this. It's that we need more people to be more positive, and then to give people positive back. And I feel at the same time, let's not try to turn other companies to shape us. We don't need every Japanese company to become what we are in the West. We don't need that. We don't. Let's not get ourselves up in a bunch over what Atlas does because you take something seriously or you're not reading the lines well. And one last thing, and I mentioned that so many times, please, just enjoy what you have. Don't focus on the character's sexuality and focus on the character. We have a lot, when it comes to character, people will hate character for many things. But I feel their sexuality or what they are shouldn't be the base of hating them. And I think that's something that should not be the main focal point. So to wrap this up, and we'll have this up before the end of Pride Month, so I will have this up before June ends, is this. I am always going to be who I am because I don't hate the community as much as others do. I still think they're toxic, but I also feel like I should also only look at them at a social media standpoint and not everybody as a whole. That's why I enjoy talking to people like David Wall when I met him and Week Atlanta. I want to keep talking to these kind of people. I want to speak with them. I want to get discussions about them and talk to them. Do you think that the community is toxic? Like, honestly, do you think so? And I want to see what people think about it. If you act the same way they are on social media, then maybe people have a point. But I want to give them a chance. So let's wrap this video up. I got 2 more videos coming up today, so keep a lookout. I won't let you know what they are, but just keep an eye on them. So, from me, Roxas99, have a happy day, enjoy it, and also happy end of Pride Month, and I'll see you next time for more videos. Hopefully this volume's a bit better, as I am working to make this microphone work better. So, take care, have a good day, bye!
You really do like Baki, though. He kind of makes me feel nice. Like a stuffed animal I had when I was a kid. When you were a kid, has Baki been around that long? Hasn't he? I can just feel his cuteness in my DNA.